live here, Go Live Vegas Studios in the heart of Las Vegas. This is Full Tilt Vegas. This is episode, what is it, 56? 57, 56, one of them. Anyway, okay, you can get my book. It's in the Book Winning Ways. You can download it, get on your phone. Blackjack, Craps, and Roulette, any other game you want to learn about. You can go to Delatory 360 Entertainment, and you can see all my videos on craps, blackjack, roulette, poker, slot machines, Keno, and I have certain guests on certain shows. The 14 is Anthony Curtis, has a magazine here in Las Vegas Advisor. He does let you know anything about Las Vegas, rooms, cheap hotels, shows. Data's on 14, and then on 17 there's Rob Goldstein, poker. And then 23 is my daughter and her friend, Girls Night Out in Vegas. That was a fun show. Aviana and Marissa. 24 was a Unicon. We did that live in Unicon. I got I don't know how many now. It was 38,000 viewers on that one. I haven't checked how many on the update. And then all my other shows from then up, I've had, I did have another guest. That was 42. That was on Hollywood. And Charisse, if she's listening, I would like her to come on the show. That'd be an interesting show. And script supervising, movies, how to break into business and stuff like that. Because I was a part of that myself. That's why I think it's interesting. Because I do have a movie trailer myself. It's called 360. Aaron here, our technical director, he's the one that put it together. It's a really good trailer. But yeah, you can go ahead and get that book and learn everything you can about those three games. Also, if you memorize it, pretty much memorize it, you should be pretty close to a professional walking in, as long as you pretty much memorize it. Because all these games, I broke them down, percentages, ratios. So you really deal into the game with the ratios and percentages. Something that a lot of people don't understand is these games, that's how these games are devised. It's percentage and ratios are against you unless you learn to put them in your favor. Doesn't mean you're going to win, but you have a very, very wide. I'm also tired. I was at the races today. I'll get into that. But you'll know quite a bit about these games. Okay. Yeah, I want to talk about the Derby. Brett's going to be here. Hello, Aaron. Yeah, I was at the Derby. I was here at the Westgate, and I was playing some horses there. And it was a long day. I got up real early and went down. I was there all day. It was a zoo. Yeah, anybody who's interested in ever playing the Kentucky Derby or the Breeders' Cup, if you want to know about horse races, that's 7 through 10, episode 7 through 10 on Delatory 360 Entertainment. Teach everything pretty much you need to know about horse racing. It was a crazy day. There was a lot of crazy people there, dressed up. Some are dressed up like they're at the track. I got one here, some woman here. I had to take a picture of her. I'm gonna have to show you this one. You can see this, Aaron. Let's see if you can see her. Can you zoom in? No. Oh, this one? Oh no. Oh, I got it. Yeah, this woman. Hold on. This woman. I mean, she was probably a nice lady, but I mean, she's wearing like the old Vegas. You can see she's probably in her 60s, 70s. she's wearing the headdress like she was a showgirl. And I was saying, that lady's past her prime. I hate to say it, but she was all like she was a sunburn. Anyway, and this one right here, I thought this was funny, Aaron. I thought this guy was funny. He came in dressed. That's actually a blue jacket, and he's all in pink, and the hat is pink. I thought it was funny. He just stood out. But there was other people that wore hats like they do at Derby Day or Del Mar. They do a lot of that opening day. But it was just crazy. There was a bunch of crazy people there. But on days like the Derby, the Preakness and the Belmont and the what are they? Breeders' Cup. Those days, if you ever take, if you ever bring, say you bring an average of $100, okay? Those days you need to bring more money. Doesn't mean you're going to spend it, but once you get pretty good at handicapping, you'll notice those days what goes on the track sometimes changes, especially the one they had this year. It rained pretty good yesterday. Yesterday, actually, it was a better day to handicap than today. It was a little harder. The track did dry out. They floated it, and then I think they pressed it, but I know they floated it. That means they got the water. They float all the water off in the cream of the sand. They float that off. And they did a really good job because the track was pretty good considering the way it was yesterday at the end, towards the end. But those days you want to bring more money is because sometimes you'll see something and when the track changes. When I used to go to the track with Gary, he used to bring his usual in this pocket over here. He used to bring Saratoga Slim. That's one of my second favorite track is Saratoga. Yeah, American Ferry. Yeah, that was a really good horse. Actually, the American Pharoah, those 2-year-olds, every time they came out, I would bet them. I won some pretty good money on American Pharaohs, the sire, all his yearlings. When they ran as 2-year-olds, man, I just bet them and they won. After a while, it got out, everybody knew it. But that one, and there's another horse, I can't remember the name, it was quite a few years back. Same thing, their first crop, they all won. Yeah, Gary used to bring, he's telling me, oh, Richard, tomorrow's the Kentucky Derby. I got to bring my extra bank. He used to have $1,000. He'd bring $1,000 every day, but he's been playing horses since he was 12 years old. He's the one that kind of taught me quite a bit about horse racing when I first met him. I hung around with him for 9 years. So I learned a lot from him and a couple other guys, Fred and Joe, but it mainly was Gary. But so what happened was he'd bring $1,000 here, and in this pocket sometimes he'd bring $3,000. It's not because he made some pretty good money. It's because of the way he bet, and you have to understand the way you bet. It's totally different. Betting, yeah, I know he was 80-1. Yeah, the horse was 80-1. It was funny because when the Derby went off, everybody was screaming before. And after, before, and as the race was going, and then all of a sudden when the race was over, the whole inside the Westgate was quiet. Nobody had that 80-1. Somebody had it. I saw the payouts. Exactly, it was 4,000 something. That was pretty huge. That means a lot of people didn't have it. 4,000, that was taxes. But almost all those bets. All those bets were taxed. I think the 10-cent superfecta, that was taxed too. That was, I can't remember how much that was, a lot. But those days you got to bring a lot of money because you might see something if you know what you're doing and the track does change. Sometimes you see something, and you need, because you're betting normally, and then you might see something. And you want to capitalize on that. So what you do is, I just bet more than normal. Like if I see a horse and he's, I don't know, say he's 4-1, and I bet him. Say I bet 40 or 60 to win. Sometimes I'll bet more. It depends. But if I see another horse that is 8 to 1, and I say, well, you know what? The favorite is 8 to 5. There's another horse 3 to 1, but the 4 to 1, that horse looks like he's going to beat those two. But then when I see another horse, if I look at it, if I keep seeing how they look on the track, and I look at the form, which you should know how to read the form, and I see something else, and that horse is 8 to 1, and then I go, you know what? Shit, this horse and that 4 came out of the same race. Why is one 4 to 1 and the other one's say he's 8 to 1? I go, you know what? I'm gonna take a chance. So what I'll do is I'll throw out the two favorites and I'll take the 4 and 8, and I'll box them, and then I'll take the flat win on the 8. And there's a possibility I might bet $200 to win on that horse. You always got to take the flat win first, no matter what you do. Before exactas, pick threes, and tries and supers, you have to take a flat bet on the long shot. It could be, I mean, I'm talking about a long shot. If you get 6 to 5, 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 5 to 2, and all of a sudden you see some horses like 8 to 1, they consider a horse. It's a lot of people talk about that, but really a horse that's 7 to 1 is considered a long shot. It's considered a long shot. Now long shots go 20 to 1, like that one was 80 to 1, but those days you have to bring money because you might see something, and you'll be having your regular whatever you bet, $5 box or $10 whatever, and then those are the times that you capitalize and you can make some really good money. I've done it. I saw Gary do it back in the day when Gary, when I was really hanging around with him a lot, and we got to know each other very well. His wife Jerry, God rest her soul, she passed away. I can't even read. That's too far.
Just wanted to show the picture of the horse.
Oh, laughing.
Just showing the picture.
Yeah, is he going for a Crest commercial for toothpaste? Yeah. Gary, one time he invited me. I don't know, did I ever tell that story? He invited me to Del Mar, but I was still working construction, and he told me, I'm going to be at Del Mar. I got a hotel, because he says, I'm going to go down there. We get some really good horses. So I went down there, and when I got there Saturday because I couldn't go Friday. He went Friday, Saturday, and he was going to stay Sunday and go home late Sunday. Well, I got there Saturday morning, and when I met him at the hotel before we went, because the track wasn't that very far. It was Del Mar. It was my favorite. That's my favorite track. He turned around and he goes, Richard, man, where were you yesterday? I go, oh God, I got to hear this. Every time he told me that, when I meet him at the simulcast, Richard, where were you yesterday? Oh, I already knew he won, huge. Anyway, he won. I think it was $15,000. He won on Friday, and then no. He won $15,000. He won on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and he was supposed to leave Sunday. And he wanted me to come down Friday. I says I can. So when I got there Saturday, he said, Richard, I won $15,000 Thursday, and then Friday he won something like 11,000. So I'm going, I got to hear this. Well, what happened? He goes, I got the track figured out, and I've got these horses really key. He was betting 200, 400 to win on a horse, but how you make your money is playing exotics, which are pick threes, which he was huge on pick threes. He was huge on it. He would bet like the pick three. Right now, pick threes are $1. There were $3 at the time. So sometimes he would bet $3 and he'd take it 10 times. And sometimes his tickets would be like $160, $180. Sometimes a little more. And because sometimes he had the favorites, but then he had non-favorites, and maybe a couple of horses at 4 or 6 to 1. And sometimes he catch those horses instead of the favorites, and your ticket really bumps up. But if you have it 10 times, it's 10 times whatever it pays. So he would win a lot. He'd always pick threes, flat wins, and the exactas. So and I'm gonna tell you a little bit how you should play the exactas. I don't do it like that, but you probably should. I can't see playing it like that because if you got two horses you like, and what I do, what I do is I box them. I'll take them both. So I box them, say they're $10. So it costs 10 and you flip it. 10 and 10 is 20. So for it's $1 now. So if it's $10, it costs $20. But if the exacta comes in, I'll hit it 10 times. You don't have to play $10. You can play $1. It costs $2. But I don't like playing $2. So I play 10 and 10. Sometimes I go 20 and then 20 flip flop. So now it's $40. But I'll have it 20 times. Well, that's how I play it. I play $10 exacta box or $20 exacta box, and then the horse I think is going to win, I'll put him on a flat win. If he's 3-1 and the other horse is 2-1 or whatever, but I like the 3-1. I just like that horse. You always put a flat win on that horse. So say I put 40 or 60 to win on that horse, and then I'll still play the exacta. Gary doesn't do that. He says it's not proper money management. What he does is he'll take, say he takes $60 a win on the 3-1, and because he thinks that's going to win, and he said the 2 might beat him. So what he does is he'll turn around and take less money and put maybe $10 exacta, or maybe 15. I've seen him do $15. Kind of odd, but you go 2, 3, one way. You don't box them, because he said if you do $10 box, you're going to lose one of them. Yes, you are going to lose one of them, but what happens if the one you want to win doesn't win and it wins this way, and you don't box it? So what he'll do is take the flat win on the 3, say he's 3-1, and the 2-1, he'll take just an exacta, 2, 3, one way. So if the 2 beats him, he's got the 2 on top, and the 3, his main horse, got second, but he hits the exacta, which covers the money on the flat win, which is proper money management. But I've been to the track so many times with him where I told him, Gary, your horse did win. You could have got the exacta. He goes, yeah, but Richard, that's throwing, you're double betting. No, you're not. You would have had the exacta too, which a higher number on top. Later on, I used to tell him that, but in the beginning, I couldn't even tell him anything. He would tell me, go away, because a lot of people did bother him. So, but then after a while, he was doing it, but it took him a long time. He just couldn't see it. It's not proper money. He said, you save that for another race. I go, well, I don't know, but I got it. Doesn't matter what comes in. Flip-flop, I got it. There used to be a house cue. As long as the quinella is $2 and the exacta is $2, if it's a $2 exacta, and a $2 cue, you figure out which one pays more. You got to look at the board and see. Sometimes the cue pays better, but now they dropped the exacta to $1, so it's really hard to find a cue pay more than the exacta. Okay, if you're playing 2 horses and you play a dollar exacta box, it's kind of costs $2. On the cue, you used to just play $2. And no, the $2 exacta was $2. So if you play it this way and that way, it's $4. But it's a $2 exacta box. The cue would be $2, but it doesn't matter. It flip-flop. It doesn't matter. You don't have to pay the extra $2. So you have to watch when it's a $2 exacta. Watch the $2 cue. If the cue pays better, then play the cue, because you'll make more money doing that. Only if the exacta is $2. A lot of tracks now, they're $1. So, but some do have a $2 exactas. See if they have a cue. If they don't, you can ask the tote guy, do you guys got a house cue? A cue is a quinella. It's just people, once you get into a horse racing, you'll get all the jargon. Like they're on the rail, they used to call it the wood. That was the old jargon. The old blinkers, the blinkers, it used to be called the hood. You'll hear some old guys talk about that. I got in where those guys still talk using that language. But yeah, you can ask them if the house cue, horse teeth, if you have a house cue, sometimes they have it, so you got to ask for it. But yeah, that it was a crazy derby, but yeah, but Gary, and then I was with them that Saturday, and I had I knew this trainer was training very, very well. I think it was Vanberg, and he ended up winning a lot of races the couple of days before. So I went on and told Gary, I want to bet this trainer because a lot of horses they're really they're winning, they're improving. I don't know why they were improving. I wonder why. It just were. So I just had to play it. And I bet my pick 3. Gary gave me a horse in the last leg of the pick 3, and I says, I'm not going to put that horse in. This horse called the Wicked North. It's the fastest horse in right now in the world. I'm not going to bet against him. He says, I understand what you're saying, Richard, but there's another horse. They fixed his cleft palate, and they're keeping it quiet. So I said, well, I ain't going to put him in. They're not going to beat the Wicked North. This horse was fast. Anyway, I win the first 2. I catch a 40-1, which is huge on the pick 3. Throw almost every tickets out. And the second, I think the second horse, he was not a favorite. I think I had one. I had one. I had one, and I took this other horse. He wasn't a favorite. He won, and the race went off. Is that a horse turbo? And so what happened is. You ain't gonna believe this. I was so shocked. My horse was kicking their ass, and that other horse started coming. I lost by a quarter. I'm talking about maybe less, maybe an eighth of an inch. It was a photo finish, and it took a long time. I told Gary, you know what? I'll take a dead heat, and I couldn't believe it. That I lost by, just to say, a quarter of an inch. That's how much I lost by. If I would have put Gary's horse in, it would have cost another $10. $10 lousy dollars. I didn't want to do it. I would have got back $11,000 for $10 because I was too stubborn to put that horse in. This is just another horse story in horse racing. So I just thought I'd let you know that you're going to hear a lot of stories about. I can tell you tons of stories about horse racing. Pick 6, yes. I hit 2 pick 6s, but even the grandmother had it that day. The other pick 6 I almost had for $16. I did tell that story. I lost that one by probably an inch, and I would have had the only ticket that day, 105 grand, and I lost by about an inch, and my horse went flying right by the wire on the 2 horses. He went just boom, went right by him, right when they hit the wire. Those are the stories. Oh, Art Guerrero. Thank you very much. Yeah, I've known him and Seren. How's Seren? Doing all right? Yeah, she's sick. But anyway, Brett, you want to get on? You want to come on? Yeah, do the commercial. No, I'm just wondering, because... Okay. Yeah, we're going to... Brett's going to be coming on. I just want to tell you a little bit about the Dobby. I was going to go into something else. I'll probably do it next week, but that's going to take a little while, too. It's on percentages. On the dice, because people keep asking me. I understand this, and you turn them around as a 7, all that stuff. But I keep getting questions about the other numbers, so I'm gonna have to go into that. All the numbers from 12 to 7. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and run a commercial here, and then after that, Brett will be on full tilt. We'll be right back. Hi, my name is Richard Delatorre. I'm the author of It's in the Book, Winning Ways. It's on Blackjack, Craps, and Roulette, and you can get it on Amazon, Google Play. You can get it on Barnes & Noble, and it teaches you the ratios and percentages of the casino, because the casino is really in charge. I put the percentages and ratios in your favor. You spend a little bit more money, but you have a better chance of winning. Doesn't mean you're going to win. No book should ever say you guarantee you're going to win. But what I did do is I cut down the ratios and percentages so you fully understand them on these 3 games. So you can go ahead and get that book. I was one of the top selling books on Amazon 2018. I was number 7. I was with Doyle Brunson, Negreanu, The Magician, John Patrick. So I was pretty good for my first book. So you can go ahead and get that book and pretty much read it to where you pretty much got it memorized, and you should be walking the casino as pretty much as an expert on these 3 games. The platform here is Go Live Vegas Studios, and my show is called Full Tilt Vegas, 6 p.m. Saturday night. I do have guests. Brett Lawson is a sports analyst. He comes on after me. Sometimes we double up. He does it on all the sports, and you can go ahead and see that. And I'll see you next Saturday or every Saturday at 6 p.m. on Full Tilt Vegas. Thank you very much.
What's going on, everybody? Brett Lawson here, co-host of Full Tilt Vegas and local sports analyst. Just a quick heads up, moving forward, I will be a regular part of the show where my segment, the back end of the show, will focus on everything in the world of sports gambling. You will still have Richard's insights and expertise and everything from his book, Winning Ways, in the first part of the show where he will dabble with table games and overall floor-related gambling, where my part of the show will focus on analyzing matchups, odds, totals, money lines, spreads, props, overall gambling, psychology, and philosophy, and just the things you need to know if you want to become a sports bettor or if you already are a sports bettor and want to sharpen your skills in that racket. So stick around. Moving forward, you will have both ends of the spectrum in the world of gambling with Richard and myself moving forward on Full Tilt Vegas. All right, keeping it rolling right here on Full Tilt Vegas. Brett Lawson in for my usual segment, sandwiched right in the middle with Richard Delatore's fabulous gambling expertise. And on a good day, this has to be Richard's one of his favorite days of the year. You see him decked out in the Kentucky Derby shirt. He was giving some outstanding betting analysis and in-depth breakdown, as you just heard before. And on a really, I'm sure Richard alluded to it plenty as I was making my way into the studio, but obviously a monumental day for a horse that wasn't even in the field yesterday morning. So we approached this Saturday morning, and that horse was barely on in that crop compared to so much of the rest of the field who were there all along. So you get him at 80-1 odds, and next thing you know, history is made. I don't know, Richard, I want to read this really quick. I don't know if you mentioned this at all because this is just something I found out. One bettor who did pick the top 3 in the exact order, being the trifecta, as Richard likes to explain it in his book and right here on the show, he bought $5 a ticket for a $5 trifecta, cashed out at $74K, Mr. Delatore. So that's what we like to bring to the table here, those insights, that type of analysis that could hopefully get you just that. But obviously a very spectacular day in this Derby, the 148th running, obviously the most exciting, most exciting 2.5 minutes, whatever the term is in sports. And it certainly delivered this year with what went down at Churchill Downs. Rich Strike, again, 80-1. So a big sports weekend, a big sports Saturday, rolling over into tomorrow. NBA action today, NBA action Sunday, and we'll get to that momentarily. But I want to get going here tonight with some UFC because, boy, do we have a good card going down in Phoenix in just about an hour. In fact, about half an hour. The main card goes live on pay-per-view. Preliminary bouts are going on right now, but it's that main card bout that goes live on pay-per-view shortly that I want to address, particularly those fights in the back end of the card. Now, the first bout, that's Donald Cerrone, Joe Lauzon fight, that has been scrapped. That got scrapped early today, so now we have 4 bouts on this card, and the last 3 of them, including 2 co-main events, both being title bouts, those are the plays I want to give you here tonight on Full Tilt. So let's dive right in. Again, this is all going down from Phoenix with the main event. Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje. We'll get to that in a moment, but I want to start with a lightweight bout a little further up on this card between Michael Chandler and Tony Ferguson, 2 men who know both of the men in the main event that we'll get to momentarily very well. Michael Chandler is the 400 favorite, getting heavy chalk there against Tony Ferguson, coming back as the plus 300 dog. Ferguson is 25-6. Chandler is 22-7 in his career, 2 of the best lightweights in the world at one point. And Michael Chandler, despite 2 recent losses, wants to maintain and solidify himself within those ranks. Tony Ferguson in recent years has kind of slid from those ranks, and it's been pretty drastic, especially given at one point Tony Ferguson wasn't just looking like one of the premier lightweights on the world, but maybe the only 155-pound man on the planet who could challenge Khabib Nurmagomedov during the height of his dominance. Now, again, hindsight's 2020. What we've seen from Tony Ferguson as of late makes you wonder if that were how much weight that speculation had against Nurmagomedov all along. But again, we could play that game till we're blue in the face. What we do know is that at this point in his career, Tony Ferguson is very battle-tested, 38 years old, but you have to wonder where the chin is at this point in his career, especially with some of these recent bouts. He's coming off of 3 straight losses to Justin Gaethje and Charles Oliveira. Again, the 2 men who are going at it for the 155-pound crown in the main event in Phoenix tonight. His most recent bout against Beneil Dariush was a completely one-sided affair in which Dariush controlled the entire bout with top control wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Tony Ferguson has long been known as an unorthodox grappler and an unorthodox striker, but it was a completely one-sided bout where Ferguson was washed in all the grappling exchanges. Michael Chandler, former All-American wrestler, University of Missouri, great credentials, great grappling prowess and pedigree. But compared to some of the other fighters who have that kind of grappling background, doesn't often use it as much. We saw him during his run in Bellator, during the height of his dominance there as a lightweight champion. We've seen him so far during his run as a contender as in the UFC as a lightweight. And a lot of the time, he does not like to go to that wrestling. Instead, he will elect to brawl. Michael Chandler is a fighter with incredibly explosive power, incredible athleticism, and sometimes he resorts to that more than the wrestling techniques. He will have the power and athleticism advantage in this bout, and the question is, will Michael Chandler at any point look to use that wrestling against Tony Ferguson and try to establish control the same way Beneil Dariush did in the fight that Ferguson had just about a year ago. This is Ferguson's first fight since. We saw Justin Gaethje defeat Michael Chandler in an absolute brawl in November, one of the best fights you could ever ask for at 155 pounds, and one of the best fights of 2021. Chandler needs this win to get back on track in terms of that lightweight contention if he wants to find himself in the cage against one of the 2 men who are going at it tonight. Technically, will only be one of the men, given the fact that Oliveira bout has some shake-up there that I'll address later. But if Michael Chandler, nonetheless, wants to get back in those ranks of the elite 155-pounders, he must beat Tony Ferguson in a fight that may just be the make or break in terms of where Tony Ferguson is going to go moving forward. A lot of people thought that was the last fight against Dariush, but here he is again with Tony Ferguson. The moxie is going to be there. The cardio is going to be there. The game and the guts, the fortitude, the heart, it will all be there. But will the chin, that typical Tony Ferguson chin, that durability that he became so legendary for, so well known for, and so beloved by the fan base as El Cucuy, will that still be there? Against some fighters, it may have a chance. I don't think it does tonight against Michael Chandler. The question is, will Chandler shoot and try to get Tony Ferguson down? I don't know if he will, but I think eventually this bout ends in a standing exchange. I think Tony Ferguson eventually plays into the game of trying to strike with Chandler, throwing his hands, and Chandler, despite catching plenty of heat, I guess you could say, from Ferguson in return, because again, Tony will be as game as ever. I think Michael Chandler catches Tony with a big shot. Again, he's a fighter who likes to often skip and gloss over the wrestling completely and resort to the striking. He has explosive, powerful punches with that quick twitch athleticism, and I think that is going to be here tonight, on display here tonight. Give me Chandler via TKO/KO at plus 150. Way too much chalk on Chandler to play that at minus 400. There's no value there, but there is a whole lot of value at plus 150. I have never once in the career of Tony Ferguson, in terms of covering his career, in terms of analyzing it, I have never once picked against him, and I certainly have never imagined him getting stopped. Tonight, I think it happens against a fighter who at this point in time is better, is not necessarily so much younger. They're both battle-tested, and they're both in their upper 30s, a lot of experience and a lot of success in this division. But right now, the matchup favors Chandler, and I think Chandler is just still a hair away from being right there in that main event spot, competing for that title. Remember, he was the one who Oliveira beat to get the title to begin with, and he was giving Justin Gaethje all he could handle last November before Justin was able to pull away with that one. I think Michael Chandler gets himself back in contention, maybe sets up a fight possibly with Islam Makhachev, maybe even Beneil Dariush in the near future, but he has to get it done here, and I think he does. Give me Chandler via TKO against El Cucuy, Tony Ferguson. It's been a hell of a career for Tony, but I think tonight he runs into a brick wall in the form of Iron Michael Chandler. Going up the card, we'll go to that co-main event, 115 pounds, strawweight matchup. Rose Namajunas defending her belt against Carla Esparza, the former champion. This is interesting because Esparza is red hot, riding a huge resurgent wave, but Rose Namajunas is carving herself out right now as perhaps the best champion this young division has ever had. The inaugural champion in this division, interestingly enough, was Carla Esparza, who won the belt back in 2014 by beating who other than Rose Namajunas by submission. This is an interesting bout because it's the classic striker versus grappler type of scenario. Now, Rose has improved tremendously over the years in her grappling. She has even displayed it in many of her fights. She deserves a lot of credit in that category. But at the end of the day, Rose is a striker, and anyone who watches her will be able to detect that, whether you have a trained eye in following this sport or not. She comes forward with a lot of pressure, uses a lot of unique angles, very fluid, excellent footwork, flowing, very light on her feet, which allows her to move in and out, setting up openings and opportunities for herself to capitalize with combinations and kicks. Most of her strength really comes from basic jabs and high kicks that her opponents really just can't time right in terms of the defensive side of things. However, facing off against Carla Esparza, someone with a great wrestling and grappling background, and unlike a Michael Chandler, a fighter who actually uses it, this makes things interesting because it could counter a lot of the things Rose likes to do well. That's why much of this bout, to me, will be determined by whether or not Esparza shoots on Rose and is able to effectively get her down to the canvas. Esparza is at her best as the bout goes longer. She's on a 5-fight win streak. Again, a huge title resurgence for the former champion, the first ever champion that this 115-pound division ever had, and 10 of her wins are inside the distance. She has picked up 10 wins via decision, meaning, again, she is a distance fighter who gets better, more of a marathon rather than a sprint type of athlete, and because of that, she often establishes control with her wrestling later in the bout. It's going to be imperative to Rose to stay on her feet and do as much as she can to dictate the tempo and push the pace of this fight to overwhelm Esparza with her striking in terms of the combinations and the volume. This is a tough fight to gauge. Rose is getting the chalk at minus 225. Esparza comes back as the plus 185 dog. I'm leaning Rose, however, my play is not on Rose. I am going with a prop here. Will the fight go the distance? I am going no on plus 125. Much like how when I was on right here on Full Tilt about a month ago when I looked at that main event between Volkanovski and Korean Zombie for the 145-pound crown, I wasn't on a side there just because I didn't like the value attached to Volkanovski. He was too steep of a favorite, and that price was too big. So instead, despite thinking with great confidence that Volkanovski would win, I decided to just play the outcome of the fight in terms of the under prop. I'm doing something similar here, but instead of the over-under on the round, I'm just doing the straight yes and no prop. Will the fight go the distance? No, plus 125. So again, I'm leaning Rose. I'm not playing Rose. I think either way, whether it's Rose's striking or Esparza's grappling, both fighters are very battle-tested. Rose is 11-4, but has been in some wars. Esparza is 18-6, and she can say the same thing. She has a little bit of an age gap on Rose at 34 years old compared to Rose's 29. But again, very, very active for both of these combatants, and Esparza has really caught fire as of late. Makes for an interesting bout in terms of the timing, given that Rose is also riding a career high and has been able to bounce back in tremendous fashion. She bounced back against Jessica Andrade to get her title back, and then she was able to bounce back against Zhang Weili to get it back once more. Rose is just that, she beat Andrade to get back into title contention after Andrade initially defeated her. So either way, every loss, Rose is avenged, and this could be the same case going back to 2014. Again, she's beaten Andrade in tremendous fashion the second time around. She's beaten Weili. The question is, can she do the same thing tonight against her old foe Esparza? I think she can, but I'm not betting it. I do think this fight, though, is going to be quite the barn burner. I think we could have a war on our hands. So give me 125 plus 125 on the no. It does not go the distance. The grappling and the striking disparity there should lead to one heck of a contest. So that leads us to the main event, going back to the lightweight division. Again, the two fighters here, Charles Oliveira, the champion, taking on Justin Gaethje. Gaethje was able to get this bout with that win over Michael Chandler, as I mentioned earlier, back in November. Oliveira beat Chandler to initially get this belt last summer, then had his tremendous first defense against Dustin Poirier. Charles Oliveira has really been on a tear long before he even got within the conversation of the title, and he has done so much to where he has created a record-setting, a record-breaking resume, if you will, within the lightweight division of the UFC. He has 15 submission victories in the UFC, a promotion record, 20 overall throughout his career, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who utilizes his body type, his length, and just his overall fluidity, both standing and off his back so well. He choked out Dustin Poirier from a standing position while taking his back, but we've also seen him do incredible things while on his back with his opposition on top of him. So from any angle, he can do a lot in the grappling field. He is a minus 140 favorite, a slight favorite tonight over Gaethje, who comes back at plus 110. Those odds are accurate. It's reflective of how close this bout is. Oliveira is a more well-rounded martial artist, but you can make the case that Justin Gaethje is the better quote-unquote fighter. Much like Michael Chandler, who was his most recent victory was against, Justin Gaethje is the kind of fighter who often ignores his amateur wrestling pedigree, often glosses over that all-American skill set, and instead elects to brawl. He's an unorthodox striker who really capitalizes off the damage that he does through leg kicks and then goes to work upstairs. We saw that when he was able to defeat Tony Ferguson. It was on display once again against Michael Chandler, and just know it will be, whether Oliveira has a plan to counter it or not, it will be present tonight as well. Justin Gaethje is always going to be game. He's always going to be ready to go, and you are going to have to throw just about everything and then some to even hurt the guy, let alone stop the guy. I believe he has the best chin in the sport. He has the best durability in the lightweight division, and the only way to stop him is to really outclass him. We saw Khabib Nurmagomedov do that with his wrestling in his last fight. But for the most part, most fighters haven't been able to do it, and the more bouts go on, against Justin Gaethje, they often play into his favor. So I think this fight could go a lot of different ways just because of how durable Gaethje is. He likes to brawl. I don't see him shooting. I could see Chandler shooting on Ferguson in that aforementioned bout. I think that's much more likely than Gaethje shooting on Oliveira, especially given Oliveira's skill at fighting off his back. Oliveira, though, the one big variable here is just how much better he continues to grow in the striking department. The height differential is really not a factor here. Gaethje is 5'11", Oliveira is 5'10", but Oliveira has a very, very nice reach advantage on Gaethje, a 4-inch reach advantage, and he uses that length and reach well, uses those long arms in his striking, has become, again, much more well-rounded, a lot crisper, a lot sharper, and has become a true all-around martial artist in that division, not just a grappler. It'll be interesting to see how that well-rounded skill set fends off against that relentless attack and high tempo and offensive volume of Justin Gaethje in the main event with the title on the line. I mentioned a moment ago, there's a key note to mention here. Doesn't really affect the betting in any way, shape, or form, but you may have noticed when I mentioned that Chandler-Ferguson bout, Chandler beating Ferguson would get him back in contention. The contention is here in front of his very own eyes, taking place just about an hour or so after he's active tonight. However, only one man in this main event can walk away with the belt. As some of you may have caught this, Charles Oliveira yesterday missed his weight. He was 0.5 pounds over, had an hour to burn it off, could not make the cut. So, therefore, he cannot walk away victorious tonight with the belt. Again, could win the fight. He'll be in the fight, but his pay will take a cut, and he will not be able to walk away with his title. So, as of right now, even though he was coming into the bout as champion, this is essentially a vacant belt. If Oliveira wins, nobody has the belt, and we're going to see in between that stacked lightweight division who will be next in line. Very likely will be one of those other fighters I mentioned, Michael Chandler, Islam Makhachev, or someone in that crop. But if Justin Gaethje wins, he eliminates that issue entirely because he will be champ. So long story short, if Gaethje wins, he's the champ. That was going to be the case anyway. But if Oliveira wins, it will be vacant. So, again, that doesn't affect the betting. It doesn't affect the odds, just in case some of you may be a little bit confused about the scenario. Right now, again, this was very, very recent, happened yesterday during the weigh-ins. So that is now the case and the stipulation attached to this bout. Since Oliveira, the champion, who has had issues in the past making weight, that's an issue once again. And it looked like, despite that being very disappointing, given that what he has been able to do as of late as a lightweight champion, possibly establishing himself as one of the greatest to ever do it in very close proximity to the retirement of Khabib Nurmagomedov. We were wondering who would take that place as the dominant lightweight fighter in this division for the UFC, and it was looking like, even with this stacked division, it was going to be Charles Oliveira nonetheless. And here we are, and he is no longer champion. But he can be victorious, and I think tonight he is going to be victorious. Again, 140 is a favorite. Tight odds, much different than some of the other bouts we have talked about on this show in the past. I am not playing that minus 140 price on him. However, I'm going with the outcome prop. I love Justin Gaethje's heart. I love the guts. I love the chin, but I think he will be outclassed in the grappling here. I don't think he necessarily has to go for a takedown and try to get Oliveira on his back. I think Oliveira is going to put Gaethje away in similar fashion to where he put away Dustin Poirier with that rear naked choke. I think he catches Gaethje with something he's not expecting, and even though Gaethje isn't exactly the type to tap, as we saw in that Khabib fight, I think when it's all said and done, he stops him and gets his hand raised, albeit not with the belt at the end of the night. But I think Oliveira is victorious via submission victory at plus 155. And attaching a quick little additional play to this, as well as that plus 155 submission win for Charles, I also think this bout goes over the 2.5 rounds. I think we could have an absolute war on our hands. Oliveira, very experienced, 32-8, won no contest. He's 32 years old. Gaethje has a year on him, but he has a year on him, but not as much experience. He's 23-3. Oliveira has fought in just about every bout you could imagine. Gaethje has his fair experience as well, but I think Oliveira's is going to be a little too crafty for him. But this should be competitive enough to where it goes above 2.5 rounds. So give me Oliveira via submission at plus 155, and give me the over at 2.5 rounds at plus 125. I like that price on both of those plays, and I think it is fairly reflective of how this bout is going to play out. I think this fight will be very action-packed with a whole lot of violence in those first 2 rounds, and right around midway through the third, or early through the third, midway through the third, I think Charles Oliveira pulls away and shows that gap in skill set, not necessarily a gap in toughness or heart, but a gap in skill set, and I think the superior all-around mixed martial artist is victorious in this title bout tonight here in Phoenix. So there you have it. I know that was a mouthful, but that's the fun part when you have an action-packed card like this going down at UFC 274 in Phoenix. That is the case. Interesting matchups, 2 at lightweight. Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson, again, my play there. I think Chandler takes care of business and stops Tony. It sounds far-fetched, but given where each fighter is at this point in their careers, I like Michael Chandler at minus 400, even though that's not my play. I like him with the knockout at plus 150. I'm staying away from that minus 400 price, just not enough value there. So give me Chandler with the stoppage. Give me the yes-no distance prop. I'll take the no at plus 125 in the co-main event between Namajunas and Esparza. I think we're going to have a hell of a fight there as well for the 115-pound crown. Again, leaning Rose, but not playing Rose. So give me the no plus 125. I don't think that one goes to the scorecards. And the main event, I think, is the same case. Oliveira via stoppage, submission at plus 155. And I think it happens a little bit later in the bout over that plus 2.5 mark of for the round prop. Give me the over, and again, the submission victory prop. So all 3 of those bouts on the top of the card, going up from the third to last through the 2 co-mains. I like stoppages on all of them. I think we're in store for an action-packed card. It's all going down in about 10 minutes on pay-per-view. Again, the first bout on that main card, the opening bout between Donald Cerrone and Joe Lozon, that was canceled, but everything else on that for the event tonight is still on the books. Mauricio Shogun, who has taken on Ovince St. Preux, should be a really fun night of action in the octagon, and should hopefully be a good night of betting action for me and for all of you if you are feeling about it. Because again, it's a big betting day, big sports day. People hit big. in the Kentucky Derby earlier this afternoon. Now's the time to hit big in the realm of combat sports. Really quick before I get out of here, I just want to give one more quick little play going from the octagon to the ring. Canelo Alvarez right here in Las Vegas taking on Dimitri Bivol. Canelo going up from 168 pounds to 175 pounds. This is only his second light heavyweight bout. His first bout took place back in 2019 with a knockout victory over Sergey Kovalev. Dimitri Bivol, the Russian, who's 19-0, 31 years old with 11 knockouts, has a distinctive height and reach advantage over Canelo, 5 inches for height, 2 inches for reach, and he's very technically sound, uses the jab and controls distance very well, throws crisp combos. One of the more fundamentally checks a lot of boxes fundamentally, I guess you could say, compared to some of Alvarez's other opponents. But we've seen Alvarez in some bouts to where technical boxers have given him trouble early on, or at least in the middle of the bout, and he's had to overcome it. He did an incredible job unifying the 168 belts this past year, was able to make history all throughout 2021 by dominating the super middleweight division. But the question is, given the fact he's fighting a bigger man and a man who's very, very, again, technically crisp, what will Canelo do to really find success against the bigger Bivol? Will he be able to work inside? Will we see a lot of pressure from Canelo? His skill set ultimately lies in the counterpunching and the body work due to his explosive power. But he's the bigger man. That explosive power should be able to take its toll against Bivol, but he has to work inside first. So the simple factor in this fight, even though there are still outlying factors given the fact that both are elite champions, I think the simple factor for really trying to break this down meat and potato style would be, can Canelo get inside the distance of Bivol, or can Bivol keep him at bay using the jab? Because if Alvarez pressures, it begins to play more and more into the favor of Canelo, whether it be into the exchanges in the pocket going toe-to-toe, where he could use his counter-punching, or if he starts slipping in body punches and digging into the midsection. We have seen him wear down a lot of competition that way, including bigger, stronger fighters. That may have to be the case against Bivol here tonight. So this should be a heck of a fight. Elite skill sets all around, great athleticism, a lot of power, big bodies. Again, Canelo, only second time he's fighting at 175, so this is quite the challenge. Probably more of a challenge than people are letting on, and even the betting odds at minus 550 for Canelo, plus 400 for Dimitri, may not be all entirely accurate. That being said, I think Canelo gets it done. I like the power. I like the explosion once he does get inside, and I think he's going to be a little bit too much for Dimitri Bivol to keep at bay. Give me Canelo at plus 230 to win via KO or TKO, keeping up with that trend in the fight game tonight of me picking stoppages as the outcome. So give me Canelo via KO/TKO plus 230. I think he stops Bivol. He has a little bit more experience as a professional. Bivol was had an extensive amateur background, came over to the States to start his professional career a little late. Canelo's 57-1-2 to, again, Bivol's 19-0, and the age is the exact same. So that says it all right there. If both fighters are 31, and yet one fighter has a total of 60 fights compared to 19 fights, that says a lot. So I think that experience will be obvious. I think the athleticism, the power will be obvious, but it will be a lot easier said than done. I think Canelo gets the win, but I also think that it happens later in the bout. So I'm also playing the no plus 170 of will it go the distance on the prop, but I'm not playing the round prop of over under 10.5 because that just is a little too on the nose for me. I'd rather limit it to more a 50-50 type of play. So give me Canelo on the no plus 170 for the distance prop. I think he stops it, and that play feeds into my plus 230 of Canelo winning via knockout. So there you have it. Richard was about to join me back up here, but just like that, we only have 5 minutes left. So I'll actually really quick just go ahead and jump into the NBA. I know Richard has plenty to talk about in the coming weeks, as he will, but I'm happy he at least got to start the show here tonight talking the Kentucky Derby. Again, history was made once more. The trifecta, $5 winning 74,000, one better picking the top three in the exact order. Richard talks about it in his book. He talks about it here on Full Tilt. Different trifectas, quinellas, everything of that nature. Horse betting is its own science, and a lot of times people think they have it figured out, but then things like today happen where a wrench is very much thrown into everything, and an 80-1 horse like Rich Strike, who wasn't even in the field going into the weekend, walks away as the winner of the 148th running of the Roses. But the sports weekend does not stop here on this Saturday. It rolls into tomorrow. Action continuing. Suns, Mavericks, Dallas. The question is, Luka, he's been brilliant. Can anyone help him out? Jalen Brunson is a fine player. He hasn't done enough to help Luka out against the Suns. This Dallas team, not only, and a lot of times we see this in the playoffs, especially in the first and second round, but we are seeing not only is this Dallas team lacking firepower to go toe-to-toe with Phoenix, and again, they have been able to get a win as we approach Game 4. That series, again, 2-1 Phoenix with the Game 4 taking place in Dallas tomorrow, but it's become completely apparent that Dallas just doesn't have the pieces around Luka, which is really kind of where the conversation's going to be regardless of where the series is, or how the series plays out for both these teams, because that's going to be the question for Dallas in the offseason. How do they address helping out Luka Doncic, one of the most premier elite talents we have seen in the game in quite some time? Some may even call him possibly the best player in the NBA or the best skill set in the NBA, and yet there is not enough around him. He's putting up plus 40 every game, and yet still walking away with 2 losses heading into Game 4. Phoenix has had some injury issues, but Devin Booker's been out there. Chris Paul obviously is going to be hit and miss in the playoffs, but the DeAndre Ayton and Jay Crowder factor, all these pieces that Phoenix has and just the way they play basketball is making things a little too difficult for Dallas. Dallas, however, I believe yes, they are the dog. They're getting 2 points at home tomorrow, and I actually think they get the win tomorrow. I think Phoenix is by far the better team, and they advance in the series. I picked them to win that series last week right here on the show. But give me the Mavericks in Game 4. I like them. I like them on the money line at 2. I'm also going to see before tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. before that game tips, if that line will shift at all. So as of right now, for that Sunday play, I'm leaning Dallas plus 2 at home. And as far as the Heat and 76ers are concerned, Joel Embiid was cleared from concussion. We saw him last night in the mask. They got a much-needed win. They're laying 1.5 at home against Miami in that Game 4 matchup taking place tomorrow night. And I think they, despite not being a home dog like Dallas is, I think they get the win at home to tie this series up. I think the Heat... I think if Embiid is injury was still kind of more up in the air, it'd be easier to bet Miami. With him back in the mix and all these games left in the series, I'm not going to step out on the line just yet and say that the Heat have the series locked up. Too many things could go wrong and too many things could go right with Philadelphia, especially with Embiid out there. But Phoenix, I think, gets the job done in the series. Dallas gets the final win of that series tomorrow night. So just want to give you a quick couple of plays there in the NBA. Gonna wrap up here in a moment, but just again, in conclusion, tomorrow, just because again without the graphics may get a little confusing here. Dallas plus 2.5 at home, Philadelphia plus 1.5 at home, in combination with all my fight plays here tonight. So that'll do it right here. So that should do it. Richard's telling me to give the green light to wrap it up right there. So we appreciate it. Everyone following on our normal platforms, social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, we thank you for checking us out on Alexa, on the Go Live Vegas app. We thank you. So keep checking us out on all our audio and video feeds. Check out all our archived episodes available on demand whenever you choose. Just go to any of those video platforms I just mentioned and check us right here as we keep trucking through here on Full Tilt Vegas. It's a heck of a sport weekend, and we hope the betting action works out for us, because it sure did work out for those Kentucky Kentucky Derby bettors earlier today. So if you're betting UFC 274, the boxing tonight, or any NBA action over the weekend, including those 2 games tomorrow, best of luck to you. Hopefully next week here, same time, same place, we can sit here and celebrate as we continue to make more and more plays throughout the postseason. We'll also get to some hockey too, so don't worry, hockey bettors. We're getting there. We'll satisfy you as well. We'll catch you next week right here on Go Live Vegas. This is Brett in for Richard. Y'all have a great weekend.